as well. Das wäre super. Dann lass uns starten. Alright. Also nochmal herzlich willkommen zu dem Unterricht heute. Heute sprechen wir über wichtige Verben. Today we'll talk about important verbs for beginners, the 10 most important regular verbs. I'm so excited for you guys to be here today. And before we get started, well, you already told me that you can hear me and see me all right. Also, if you are watching the replay, because this video, this live stream is going to be uploaded to YouTube later on, drop the word replay in the comments so that I know you are watching the replay. Also, I'd love to know where you are tuning in from. So let me know in the comments where you are currently located. Shania, Helena, Ella, hallo. Woher kommt ihr oder wo wohnt ihr zurzeit? Where are you currently tuning in from? Let me know in the comments below. And then also, if you're watching here on Instagram, head over to YouTube so you can join me in the live. Hallo George, sehr schön. So where are you tuning in from? Let me know in the chat box. I'm curious to know. Nilofa sagt Hamburg, sehr schön. Super. Gut, dann lass uns direkt starten. So for those who don't know me, who am I? Let's take a quick look. So I was born and raised in a small village near Frankfurt. So my mother tongue is German. Meine Muttersprache ist Deutsch. I graduated from the DHBW University in Mannheim, and I started tutoring to German to native speakers first, and then also helped out a lot of my peers in uni with proofreading the thesis, because believe it or not, German is also difficult for native speakers. And then in 2016, I moved to Hong Kong and started teaching to non-native German speakers as well. I'm also certified by the Goethe Institution as a German teacher, and I'm also a certified IB teacher. And today, my mission is to teach German to professionals efficiently and effectively. I've gathered many years of teaching experience and also language learning. So I'm a very passionate language learner myself. And through that teaching experience and also my language learning, I've now developed my own effective and efficient strategies to teach German. So get ready for a value-packed session. Grab a notebook and a pen, pour a tea, coffee, or water, and also put your phone or any other distractions away as well. Definitely stay until the end of this live, because at the end you will get your free workbook with all of the verbs that we discussed today. So you definitely make sure that you'll make it till the end of today's lesson. So again, this is suitable for A1 or A0 learners. So if you have zero knowledge in German, that's also totally fine. Or if you are at an advanced level already and you want to just brush up the basics, then this lesson is for you as well. We'll be talking about personal pronouns, verb conjugation in the present tense, so really suitable for the beginner learners. All right. So before we get into verb conjugation, we need to understand personal pronouns first. All right. So personal pronouns are words like I, you, he, she, it, und so weiter. Yeah? In German, we have those words as well. They're called ich for I, du for you, for he, sie for she, es for it, wir for we. Ihr is you guys, the informal you guys. And then we have sie with a small s, which is they, and sie with a capital S, which is the formal you. Now, for those who don't know what the formal you is, basically when we're addressing strangers or people that are older than us, or people in a very formal situation, like a business meeting, a job interview, you always want to be addressing them formally with sie. All right. And the reason why it's important to understand that first is because actually the verb endings, when we put everything into sentences, is going to change accordingly. So now we got that out of the way. Let's take a look at the 10 most common regular verbs in the present tense. So we have machen, lernen, wohnen, kommen, arbeiten, gehen, kaufen, bezahlen, brauchen und verstehen. So today we're going to look at all of these words, how they're conjugated, and also how we can actually put them into context, because that's really important so that it sticks up here, right? It's one thing to understand how it works, but it's a totally other thing to also memorize it. So that's what we're going to take a look at today. And before we get started with that, we actually also need to clarify what conjugating actually means. There might be some of you who have never heard of the term conjugation. It's basically just a fancy term for saying that the verb endings change according to the thing or the person that is doing the action, all right? So according to the subject. So for that, the stem of the verb doesn't change, all right? The verb stem, der Verbstamm bleibt immer gleich. Der Verbstamm, the verb stem remains the same. The only thing that changes is the ending, okay? Nur die Endung ändert sich. And this applies for all regular verbs. So the endings we're learning today, you can apply them for all of the regular verbs because they change in the same way. All right. Let's start conjugating, okay? So we'll start with number 1, machen. So let's take a look at the first verb, which means to do, all right? The red highlighted parts of that verb ending basically are the endings according to each pronoun. So for machen, it's conjugated as follow. Ich mache. Du machst. Er, sie, es macht. Wir machen. Ihr macht. Und sie machen. So you can see they and the formal you, they're conjugated exactly in the same way. That's why oftentimes you will see tables like these where they're put together. Okay, so this is how machen is conjugated. Next, we'll also want to take a look at context, all right? So when it comes to studying verbs, not only regular verbs, but any kind of verbs, always try to put them into context with example sentences, all right? This makes it so much easier to remember and also helps you to understand how these verbs are put in the sentence, and it's a lot easier to learn them this way. So let's take a look at these examples, starting with my favorite expression, Feierabend machen. Feierabend machen, okay, means to get off work. Dann kann man noch sagen, Urlaub machen, ja, to go on holidays, oder Spaß machen, to make a joke or to be fun. Zum Beispiel Feierabend machen. Sie macht Feierabend. And here you can see for sie, the verb ending is T if it's referring to she, as in a female person, all right? She gets off work. Sie macht Feierabend. Ich mache normalerweise, normally, um 18 Uhr Feierabend. Wann machst du Feierabend? Okay, this is a question for you guys in the chat box. Wann machst du Feierabend? Ich schreibe es ganz kurz mal in die Chatbox rein. Wann machst du Feierabend? Schreibt es mir in die Chatbox. Ich mache normalerweise um 18 Uhr Feierabend. Nicht immer. Meistens arbeite ich länger. Most of the time I work longer than that. Aber normalerweise 18 Uhr. So let me know when you're getting off work. Wann machst du Feierabend? Okay, nächster Beispielsatz. Wir machen Urlaub. Wir machen Urlaub. Ich mache bald Urlaub. I will go on holiday soon. Ich mache bald Urlaub. Machst du auch bald Urlaub? Machst du auch bald Urlaub? Machst du auch bald Urlaub? And use these questions that I'm putting in the chat box also as an opportunity to practice writing your own sentences. Ja, machst du auch bald Urlaub? Do you also go on holidays soon? Because when we practice putting sentences together, it's only going to help us improve. Und das letzte, ich mache Spaß. Ich mache Spaß. I'm joking, okay? Ich mache Spaß. I'm joking. Gut, sehr schön. Das sind die Beispielsätze zu dem Verb machen. Schauen wir uns das nächste Verb an. Lernen. Lernen, the next verb is lernen, also a really important verb. It means to learn, all right? So you'll notice here that the verb endings are exactly the same as for the previous verb, since it's also a regular verb. So lernen is conjugated as follow. Ich lerne, du lernst, sie, es lernt, he, she, it learns. Wir lernen, ihr lernt, you guys are learning. Sie lernen, okay? Das ist das Verb lernen. Now let's take a look at example sentences here as well. Which examples can we make with lernen? Zum Beispiel, eine Sprache lernen. To learn a language. Ja, eine Sprache lernen. Die Sprache is a language. Oder für einen Test lernen. Für einen Test lernen. To study for a test. Okay? Now, a common mistake here is the confusion between lernen versus studieren. Because studieren sounds very similar to the English word to study. Oftentimes, these two are being confused. We use studieren for the university or university programs, all right? Zum Beispiel, sie studiert an der TU München. Yeah, she studies at the TU Munich, for example. Haben wir heute Studenten eigentlich hier im Live? Könnt ihr mal in die Chatbox schreiben. So if you are a student, I'm curious to know, you can let me know in the Chatbox. Das würde mich interessieren. So, schauen wir uns die Beispielsätze an. Wir lernen Deutsch. We learn German. Ja? Ich lerne für den Test. I'm studying for the A1 test, zum Beispiel. Now, if I'm referring to a study program in university, like for example, Medizin, then I would use studieren instead. Okay, sie studiert Medizin. Okay, das ist das Wort lernen. Schauen wir uns das nächste Verb an. Wohnen. Wohnen, to live, is another commonly used verb. It means to live. So by now, the verb pattern should look a bit familiar already, right? So wohnen is conjugated as follow. Ich wohne. Du wohnst. Sie, es wohnt. Wir wohnen. Ihr wohnt. Und sie wohnen. Okay. Ich wohne in Frankfurt. Ich wohne in Frankfurt. Wo wohnst du? Where do you live? Wo wohnst du? You've mentioned where you're living already earlier. Now let's put this into a sentence, okay? So ihr könntet sagen, ich wohne in. And then add your location. Zum Beispiel, ich wohne in Frankfurt. Wo wohnst du? Nilufa sagt, ich wohne in Hamburg. Gut, sehr schön. Und wo wohnen die anderen? Vishal sagt auch, ich wohne in Hamburg. Ah, toll. Ihr könnt zusammen Deutsch lernen. You guys can connect with each other and learn and study German together, Nilufa und Vishal. Was ein Zufall. That's a coincidence. That's nice. So we have 2 students living in Hamburg. Helena sagt, ich wohne in Indonesien. Schön. Und die anderen? Wo wohnen die anderen? Ich warte noch ein bisschen, bis hier noch einige Antworten reinkommen. Ich wohne in Göttingen. Okay, sehr schön. Manjunat sagt, ich wohne in Bangalore. Wunderbar. Gut. Also, so üben wir Verben am besten. Yeah, this is really the best way to practice verbs, that you write them down in example sentences and you practice actually putting them into context. Nächstes Verb, kommen. Kommen, to come, is also a really important verb when introducing yourself. Yeah? Ich komme, du kommst, er, sie, es kommt, wir kommen, ihr kommt und sie kommen. Now, nächste Frage. Schreibt das auch in die Kommentare, okay? Ich komme aus Deutschland. Ich komme aus Deutschland. Und du? Woher kommst du? Ich schreibe es gerade in die Chatbox. Also, woher kommt ihr? Schreibt es mir gerne in die Chatbox. Helena sagt, ich komme aus Indonesien. Okay, gut. Du wohnst in Indonesien und du kommst aus Indonesien. Hilala sagt, ich komme aus Taiwan. Sehr schön. Vishal, ich komme aus Indien. Gut. Wunderbar. Okay, also ich komme aus Deutschland. Schauen wir uns das nächste Verb an. By the way, also same here, if you're watching the replay, please put your answers in the comments. I'll be checking the comment box in the next few days to engage with you guys. Manjunat sagt, ich komme aus Indien. Daniela aus Kolumbien. Sehr schön. Hallo Daniela, schön dich hier zu sehen. Nice to see you here. Awesome. Let's move on to the next verb, arbeiten. Arbeiten, to work, also an important verb, right? This is slightly irregular. You might notice for the second and the third person singular, we have an additional E here, all right? And it kind of makes a little bit sense because if you're trying to pronounce it without the additional E, du arbeitst, it gets very hard, okay? It becomes a tongue twister. Or as sie es arbeitet, that also doesn't make any sense if we just have 2 T's at the end. Therefore, we have an additional E here to make it also easier to pronounce, all right? So instead of saying du arbeitst, it's du arbeitest. And this also applies for all verbs with a D or a T in the verb stem ending. So it's not just for arbeiten, but for a lot of the verbs that have a D or a T ending in the verb stem, all right? So let's conjugate this together. Ich arbeite. Du arbeitest. Er, sie, es arbeitet. Wir arbeiten. Ihr arbeitet und sie arbeiten. Schauen wir uns das Ganze im Beispiel an. Let's take a look at a few examples. Now, arbeiten we can put into different sentences. We can, for example, say, ich arbeite als. I work as. Okay, and then you add your profession. Ich arbeite als Deutschlehrerin, ich arbeite als Arzt, ich arbeite als Krankenschwester. Okay, so whatever profession you have, you would fill it in here after als. Another way to put arbeiten in context is with where you're working, right? Ich arbeite in. Zum Beispiel, ich arbeite in Deutschland oder ich arbeite in Berlin, right? For me personally, für mich persönlich wäre es, ich arbeite online, okay? I have no location, I'm just online. Ich arbeite online. Another way to put arbeiten into context is with the company name, and therefore that we would need the preposition bei, okay? Ich arbeite bei. Ich arbeite bei Siemens, ich arbeite bei Apple oder ich arbeite bei Tesla, okay, whatever company you're working for, you would put that after the preposition bei. So, jetzt seid ihr dran. Now it's your turn. Und ihr, als was arbeitet ihr? What's your profession? You can also say where you're working, or if it's online like me, or like in the home office, you can say ich arbeite online. And if you want to share, you can also add the company name, but if you don't want, that's perfectly fine. Let me know in the chat box. Was arbeitet ihr? Oder als was arbeitest du? Okay, Vishal sagt, ich arbeite als Ingenieur bei Faurecia. Sehr schön. Gut. Und die anderen? How about the others? Warten wir noch einen kurzen Augenblick. Ilana sagt, ich arbeite als Hausfrau. Okay, das ist auch gut. Auch wichtig. Helena, ich arbeite bei einem Restaurant. Gut. Afa, Charisse, ich arbeite als Krankenpflegerin. Gut. Sehr schön. Super. Das Verb, denke ich, ist klar. Dann können wir weitermachen mit dem nächsten Verb. So the next very commonly used verb is gehen. Okay. And here it's completely regular in the present tense. So we would say ich gehe, du gehst, er, sie, es geht, wir gehen, ihr geht und sie gehen. Die Lofa sagt noch, ich arbeite von zu Hause. Gut, ich arbeite auch von zu Hause. I also work from home. Okay, so schauen wir uns das Verb im Kontext an. Let's take a look at this verb in context. We can, for example, say nach Hause gehen. Nach Hause gehen, to go home. Oder ins Büro gehen. To go to the office. Ins Büro gehen. Daniela sagt, ich arbeite als Architektin. Schön, das ist auch ein toller Beruf. Genau, zum Beispiel, ich gehe nach Hause oder sie geht ins Büro. Wer von euch geht dann ins Büro? Wer means who. So, wer geht ins Büro? Wer geht ins Büro? Ich weiß, Nilofa, du gehst nicht ins Büro, du arbeitest von zu Hause. Aber wer von euch geht ins Büro? Das Büro ist the office. Okay, so who goes to the office? Ich gehe auch nicht ins Büro. Ich arbeite auch von zu Hause. Ich arbeite online. Ilala geht auch nicht ins Büro. Sie arbeitet als Hausfrau, denke ich. Helena hat schon gesagt, sie arbeitet im Restaurant. Charisse, du arbeitest wahrscheinlich im Krankenhaus, nehme ich an. I assume that you work in the hospital, das Krankenhaus. Also, ihr könnt mir mal in die Kommentare schreiben, ob ihr ins Büro geht. You can let me know in the comments if you work in the office. Also, if you're watching the replay, feel free to participate in all of these questions. Nächstes Verb, kaufen. Kaufen. Okay, Nilofa sagt, ich gehe in die Küche. Da gehe ich auch oft hin. Vor allem zum Kühlschrank, especially to the fridge. Der Kühlschrank ist the fridge. Auch sehr wichtig. Okay, nächstes Verb, kaufen, to buy. Ich kaufe. Du kaufst. Er, sie, es kauft. Wir kaufen. Ihr kauft. Und sie kaufen. Now, kaufen is always paired with an accusative object, okay? So to buy is usually paired with a direct object. It kind of makes sense as well, right? If I just say I buy and leave it at that and stop my sentence here, everyone would be wondering, but what are you buying, right? So therefore we need to pair it with a direct object. Zum Beispiel, wir kaufen, oh, da ist ein kleiner Tippfehler, there's a small typo here. Wir kaufen, obviously with an en, ein Auto, we buy a car. Ich kaufe einen Pullover. So with Pullover, you can see ein has to change to einen because of the accusative case. And then kauft den Computer. He buys the computer. Ich kaufe einen Computer. Genau. So again, here we would need the direct object, and in German, the direct object of a sentence is always in the accusative case. Now, if you're still confused with the cases in German, or you're also struggling with speaking in German and putting basic sentences together, you should definitely check out my signature online course for beginners, which is called the German Fluency Program. So we still have a few verbs to go, so don't go anywhere. And there's also a quiz at the end of the lesson. But since I get this asked all the time when my course is opening again for beginners, I want to also use this opportunity to let you know that I'm finally accepting new students for a limited time only, and we'll quickly dive into for whom this course is, because it's not for everyone. It's for a very specific type of student. And all right, so this course is basically for you if you are relocating to Germany, Switzerland, or Austria, and you want to fully integrate into your new home. It's also for you if you are already living in one of the DACH countries and you are done with struggling to speak German. It's for you if you need a proven roadmap to get there and you want to learn smarter and not harder. It's also for you if you want to have better job opportunities or higher chances of being accepted by your desired university. It's for you if you feel overwhelmed by the complexity of grammar but you really want to put in the hours that are required to learn without using boring textbooks. And it's also for you if you are ready to take learning German seriously and you want to build a lasting connection with the DACH countries. So if this sounds like you, then you're invited to apply. Simply go to speakfluentgerman.com/apply. Then you can fill out the form there. It takes around 2 minutes. I'll also put the link in the chat box in case you are interested to apply and see if this is a good fit. And part of the program is also our weekly calls with me directly. So just like today, we will hop on a call and you get customized support throughout your entire learning journey. So if this sounds like something you need, then you are invited to grab this opportunity and apply. The program is not for you. Let's dive into this real quick as well so you know exactly for whom this is. It's not for you if you already have accomplished a solid A2 level of proficiency in German. So if you feel like, okay, I'm almost at a B1 level, actually, then this program is definitely too basic for you. You think learning German is a nice to have and not an essential skill for life in the DACH countries. You are happy staying in your own bubble and you don't really want to build a lasting connection in the countries, and that's perfectly fine, but then my program is not the right fit for you either. You think you can increase your job opportunities with English alone. You don't have the time or motivation to learn a language. You think you can only make progress with a one-on-one tutor, and my students that are inside the program already, they will tell you that this is not the case. You can definitely also make progress in an online program like that. And it's also not for you if you think you can learn all you need from free apps and YouTube. So YouTube is a great place to get started, especially with live workshops like these. But if you are serious about mastering German, you need to realize that you only learn a tiny fraction of what you actually need on YouTube. So if you are serious about leveling up your German language skills, I invite you to apply for my Fluency program for beginners. Just simply go to speakfluentgerman.com/apply and fill out the application form. And I will get back to you then and let you know if your application is confirmed. After that, we'll hop on a quick call so we can evaluate together if this is the right fit for you. Okay, weiter im Text. Let's get back to the lesson. So the next verb is also really important for daily life conversation. It's the verb bezahlen, to pay. You'll need this, for example, whenever you are in a restaurant, all right? So here you will also notice similar patterns as with the other verbs. Bezahlen is conjugated as follow. Ich bezahle. Du bezahlst. Sie, es bezahlt. Wir bezahlen. Ihr bezahlt und sie bezahlen. Okay, so Beispiel. Let's take a look at an example. Bezahlen Sie zusammen oder getrennt? Bezahlen Sie zusammen oder getrennt? So this is a very typical question a waiter could be asking you. Do you pay together or separate? Dann könnt ihr antworten, then you can either answer, wir bezahlen getrennt oder wir bezahlen zusammen. Getrennt means separate and zusammen means together, okay? In Germany, it's actually really common to pay separately with friends and then together with family. Ich möchte jetzt wissen, wie ist das in deinem Land? I would love to know how is this in your country. So in Germany, as I mentioned, most of the time when I go out with my friends, you will pay separately. And by separately, I mean you pay exactly for what you have ordered. So if I just had like a pizza and eine Apfelschorle, a sparkling apple juice, then I will also only pay for that. For those who don't know, I live in Hong Kong, and in Hong Kong, it's a little bit different sometimes. When you go out with friends, everybody orders whatever they want. And then usually when the bill comes, it's paid together at first, and then afterwards you separate it. But the way it's separated is the total amount gets equally divided by all of the people who participated in that meal. In the beginning, I got so confused by that because when I came to Hong Kong the first time, I was a student, so I really had a budget and I had to look after every single Hong Kong dollar I was spending. So I would, choose slightly cheaper things on the menu. And then when the bill came and I was prepared to just pay for my things, as I'm used to it in Germany, suddenly everyone just paid together, and then we split it equally amongst the numbers of friends. And then I kind of regretted that I didn't get the lamb steak like everyone else. I got something cheaper. And I was also wondering, why is everyone getting the same dish? So that was a bit weird as well. So das ist nur eine kleine Geschichte am Rande. Just a small story on the side. Yasmin says, in our country, we just pay the full bill. That's so cool they do it. Ilala sagt, wir bezahlen immer zusammen. Haka sagt, in meinem Land, der Vater bezahlt für all seine Familie. Okay, interessant. Und wie ist das, wenn ihr mit Freunden essen geht? How is it when you go out with friends? That would be also something I'd love to know. Okay, dann das nächste Verb, brauchen, to need. Brauchen. Ich brauche. Du brauchst. Sie, es braucht. Wir brauchen. Ihr braucht. Und sie brauchen. By now, the verb pattern should become more and more familiar as we're discussing more and more verbs. So example sentences with brauchen. Brauchen, since it's to need, it also requires a direct object in the so-called accusative case. So, for example, ihr braucht einen Computer. You guys need a computer. Wir brauchen eine Pause. We need a break. Ich brauche ein Wasser. I need a water. Okay, so with brauchen, it's kind of the same as with kaufen. If I would just say ich brauche, I need, and I stop here, then everyone would be wondering, but what do you need, right? So we definitely need a direct object in this case as well. So, dann verstehen, das letzte Verb für heute, verstehen, to understand. Ich verstehe. Du verstehst. Er, sie, es versteht. Wir verstehen. Ihr versteht. Und sie verstehen. For this one, I have a fun idiom at the end, the German idiom, ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. We use this quite commonly if we don't understand anything about what's going on, all right? So it literally translated means I only understand train station. So it just means I don't have a clue what you're talking about, yeah? So if someone says something to you and you have no clue what they're talking about, you can say, ich verstehe nur Bahnhof. Oder anderes Beispiel, other example, ich verstehe das nicht. I don't understand that. Oder sie verstehen den Lehrer. They understand the teacher. Meine Frage an euch jetzt, verstehst du den Unterricht oder versteht ihr den Unterricht? Habt ihr den Unterricht heute verstanden? Did you understand today's class? Okay, sehr schön. Ich verstehe. Super. So, are you ready for a quiz? Let me know in the chat box with a big ready if you are. Then we'll dive into the quiz. Seid ihr bereit für das Quiz? Okay. And also, if you're watching the replay, then definitely let me know in the comment below. Jasmin sagt, yes, we do. Okay, I'm ready too. Okay, dann lass uns mit dem Quiz anfangen. Let's get started with the quiz. So here in this first example, we have the verb given, but it's not conjugated yet. Okay, das Verb steht dort. Das Verb ist verstehen, to understand. Er, den Lehrer. He understands the teacher. So welches dieser drei Optionen ist richtig? A, B oder C? Ihr braucht nicht den ganzen Satz aufzuschreiben. You don't need to fill in the whole sentence in the chat box. Just let me know, is it A, B or C? Is it A, B oder C? Versteht, Jasmin, genau. Haka sagt auch C. Vishal sagt C. Jasmin C. Genau, ihr habt recht. Er versteht den Lehrer. Er versteht den Lehrer. Okay, sehr gut, das ist korrekt. Schauen wir uns die Lösung an. Genau, he understands the teacher, er versteht den Lehrer. Nächster Satz. Maria comes from the USA but lives in Germany. So, wir haben hier zwei Verben. This time we have two verbs, kommen und wohnen. Our subject of the sentence is Maria. That would translate into sie oder she as a personal pronoun, all right? So if you think back to the table, that should be the third person singular. Ich sehe hier schon ganz viele Antworten. Jasmin sagt C. Maria is the third person singular. Ah ja, you corrected yourself already and said B. Okay, Haka sagt B, genau. Richtig, Lala sagt auch B. Genau, das ist richtig. Maria kommt aus den USA, aber wohnt in Deutschland. Okay, Maria kommt aus den USA, aber wohnt in Deutschland. So here we need the ending T because again, Maria is our third person singular. It translates or transfers to sie, as in she. Okay. So, nächstes. Dieses Mal brauchen wir das Personalpronomen. This time the personal pronoun is missing. So the verb is conjugated already, but we don't have a subject. So what's the subject here? If I want to say he is paying for our food, is es A, B oder C? Sena sagt A, Haka A, Nilofa A, Jasmin A. Genau, super, richtig. Das ist korrekt. 3a. Okay, ja. Also, er bezahlt für unser Essen. Das ist richtig. Okay, gut. Schauen wir uns das nächste an. Der Computer ist kaputt. Oh je. Oh nein, der Computer ist kaputt. The computer is broken. Kaputt means broken. Dort brauchen einen neuen. So, if I want to say we need a new computer, dort brauchen einen neuen Computer, wäre es dann er, wir oder ich. Genau. Jasmin 4b, HKB, Manjunat sagt B. Ich hoffe übrigens, ich spreche eure Namen korrekt aus. I hope I pronounce your names correctly. Eric sagt auch B. In case I'm not, let me know in the chat box, so I'll try to do better next time. Genau, so, hier ist B richtig. Wir brauchen einen neuen Computer. Wir brauchen einen neuen Computer. So, das nächste Beispiel ist mit dem Verb arbeiten. The next example is with the verb arbeiten, to work. I work on the weekend. How to say I work on the weekend in German? Dort arbeite am Wochenende. Ist es er, es oder ich? Ihr seid alle so schnell. You're always so fast with your answers. Sehr gut. Ich sehe hier ganz viele Cs aufpoppen. Das ist richtig. Ich arbeite am Wochenende. Das ist korrekt. Gut. Ihr seid ja richtig fix hier. Das ist super. Dann das nächste. Dort lernen aus diesem Unterricht. We are learning from this lesson. Ist es es, wir oder ihr? Was wäre das richtige Personalpronomen hier? Wir lernen aus diesem Unterricht. Genau. Sena, korrekt. Erik, korrekt. Nilofa, korrekt. Haka, richtig. Jasmin, Ruani, super. Ihr habt alle die richtige Antwort. Wir lernen aus diesem Unterricht. So, und das letzte Beispiel für heute. Learning German is fun. Spaß machen means to be fun. All right, so what would be the correct conjugated verb here? Deutsch lernen ist unser Subjekt. Ist es machen, machst oder macht? 7c, Jasmin, genau, richtig. C ist korrekt. Deutsch lernen macht Spaß. Super, vielen Dank, dass ihr heute alle so toll mitgemacht habt. Thank you that you joined me today. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and also subscribe to my YouTube channel. We're going to have more of these live lessons next week. So next week, we're going to discuss the irregular verbs. So definitely make sure that you subscribe and hit the notification bell. On Tuesdays, I always upload the weekly video. So every Tuesday, you'll get a lesson. And then next week on Thursday, we're going live again, same time as today. And again, if you want to work with me directly, don't forget to apply for the German Fluency program for beginners. The link to apply is speakfluentgerman.com/apply. Also, everyone who is still here, thank you so much for joining the lesson. I really appreciate all and also your time for hanging out with me. And as promised, you'll now get your free PDF for the regular verbs with all of the things that we have discussed today. I will drop it in the chat box, so you can download your free workbook there with all of the notes and slides and quizzes that we were talking about today. It's in the chat box. It's pinned in the chat box, so you can simply head to that page and then download your free workbook for today's lesson. Genau, ich habe noch ein paar Minuten, 1-2 Minuten. If you would want to ask me anything, I'm free for another 2 minutes and then I have my next appointment. Ihr könnt mir gerne noch eure Fragen stellen, wenn ihr möchtet. Ansonsten belassen wir es heute hierbei. keine Fragen. Ihr könnt mir ruhig in der Chatbox sagen, ob ihr noch irgendwelche Fragen habt. Ich komme mal hier aus der Präsentation raus. Also, in case you have any more questions, you can let me know. Haka sagt, vielen Dank. Vishal sagt, danke. Ilaria sagt, danke. Freut mich, dass es euch gefallen hat. Gar kein Problem. Wir sehen uns nächste Woche wieder. So hopefully I'll see you again next week. Und dann würde ich sagen, in diesem Sinne wünsche ich euch noch eine schöne Woche und bis zum nächsten Mal.